They stepped off the train into a blazing Texas night in June 1943, and their reality shattered. For Unafizia Burkhardt and 1,850 other hardened Afrika Korps veterans, this was their first glimpse of the enemy homeland they had been taught to despise. Nazi propaganda had promised them a weak, divided, and decadent America on the verge of economic collapse. Instead, they witnessed an endless constellation of electric light. This was the opening act of the most ingenious and unorthodox psychological operation of World War II, a war fought not with bullets and bombs, but with overwhelming, undeniable abundance. It was the systematic demolition of the Nazi ideology, brick by brick, through the sheer terrifying display of American industrial might. These prisoners of war were about to become unwilling students in a brutal curriculum of reality. Their education began not in the classroom, but in the port of Oran, Algeria. After their crushing defeat in Tunisia, where over 250,000 Axis soldiers surrendered, they were processed with a cool, methodical efficiency that already unnerved them. But the first true shock to their system was the food. In the cage at Oran, while we waited for ships, the Americans fed us better than we had eaten in 6 months of desert warfare, one soldier wrote home. They dismissed it as a propaganda stunt, a fleeting performance. They could not have been more wrong. This was merely the standard U.S. military ration. The Atlantic crossing aboard a Liberty ship, a vessel they later learned was one of 2,710, many built in mere days, was lesson 2 in applied economics. The prisoners watched in stunned, hungry silence as American sailors casually threw away half-eaten steaks, whole loaves of bread, and gallons of milk. The waste was magnificent, one German engineer scrawled in his hidden diary. They did this openly, without thought, not to mock us, but because to them this surplus meant nothing. Their supply was truly limitless. Then came the coast of Virginia, and the sight that broke the first wave of their ideological resolve. The Norfolk Naval Base was not merely a port. It was a sprawling 4,300-acre monument to American power. Its docks stretched to the horizon, its cranes loading and unloading dozens of ships in a synchronized ballet of logistics that dwarfed anything in Germany. This single facility handled more tonnage in a day than the entire port of Hamburg managed in a week. But the final personal blow was the trains that awaited them. Not the infamous 40 and 8 boxcars, but sleek, modern Pullman coaches with cushioned seats, dining cars with white tablecloths, and even air conditioning. "We boarded like tourists, not prisoners," one lieutenant recorded, his disbelief palpable. For 3 days, these mobile classrooms in American capitalism rolled west, and the curriculum intensified. The prisoners pressed against the windows, their faces illuminated by a nation that simply could not exist, according to Dr. Goebbels. Every small town, from the Virginias to the Texan plains, blazed with light. Factories ran 3 shifts, their parking lots full of workers' cars at midnight. They saw the Alcoa aluminum plant in Tennessee, its electric furnaces consuming more power than the entire city of Munich. They slowed past Ford's colossal Willow Run plant, where a B-24 Liberator bomber was produced every 63 minutes, a rate of production that was pure fantasy in the Reich. The sights of American agriculture were perhaps the most psychologically devastating. As sons of farmers, they understood the language of the land, and what they saw was a foreign tongue. They witnessed endless fields of wheat and corn that stretched beyond the horizon, single farms that produced more grain than entire German provinces. They saw combines harvesting 100 acres a day and watched in anguish as mountains of perfectly good fruit were plowed under to maintain prices, a strategic waste that proved infinite resources arriving. At camps like Hearne, Texas, the cognitive demolition was finalized. They lived in well-constructed wooden barracks with electric lights, hot showers, and flush toilets. The camp hospitals were stocked with penicillin and equipment that would have been the envy of German civilian clinics. The daily rations consistently included fresh meat, white bread, and vegetables. "Today we threw away more food than my family has seen in 3 years," a former hotel chef assigned to kitchen duty wrote, confessing he wept at the sight. The final, transformative phase of their re-education came through the labor programs. Sent out to farms and factories to offset the American wartime labor shortage, they witnessed the engine of this prosperity firsthand. They saw a single teenaged farmer's son driving a tractor worth more than a German laborer's lifetime earnings. They worked near steel mills that produced more in a single day than the Ruhr Valley in a week. They saw women, the elderly, and minorities operating complex assembly lines with an efficiency and morale that Germany's slave labor force could never hope to match. The ideological collapse was total and well documented. Hardened Nazis fell silent. They began secretly requesting newspapers and books on democracy. They enrolled in university correspondence courses by the tens of thousands. When newsreels of the D-Day invasion, a staggering armada of 6,000 ships, reached the camps, there were no boasts, only a grim acceptance of the inevitable. They had seen the arsenal of democracy, and they knew the truth. The final moral blow landed when American forces liberated the Nazi concentration camps and showed the footage to the prisoners. Many refused to believe it, claiming propaganda, but the evidence was overwhelming. "We thought we were warriors for a great cause," one soldier wrote. "We discovered we were the tools of criminals." By 1946, when the 371,683 German POWs were repatriated, they were no longer warriors for the Third Reich. They were missionaries for a new democratic Germany. They returned to the ashes of their homeland not with hatred, but with a blueprint for recovery, having witnessed the awesome, world-altering power of a free and abundant society. America's most profound victory was not just in defeating the German soldier, but in systematically converting him.